welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Z Garcia.
And I'm Camilla.
And today we're going to be reviewing Kavango. So this is by Matt Brown and Zara Reed, and I guess their combined publishing company, Mazaza Games.
I'm guessing so.
Yep. He's also the artist in this as well.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So this is a game about trying to be a conservationist and build up a cool conservation area. I'll show you a little bit about how it's played. In Kavango, we are conservation experts, and we are trying to build nature reserves, and we're trying to build the biggest and best nature reserve to get the most victory points. In this game, players are going to be drafting cards. Now we have action cards, and then we have actual animal cards, and then producer cards. They go different places and they work different ways, but the drafting, no matter what card you pick, is going to be similar. So what a player will do is they will draft a card. They will pass along that hand of cards. They will reveal their card. This happens to be an action one. However, if they have an animal, they can place it over here to save it for later, or they can place it in their tableau if they meet all the requirements necessary. After they're done playing their card, then they can go ahead and they can check to see if they meet any of these objectives over here. These will change during each one of the rounds. And if they meet the objectives, they can gain money and points based on the requirements listed. Finally, they'll pass that hand of cards that they just took from to their left, and then they will collect a new hand of cards from their right. That will continue for 10 rounds or 10 turns, and then each one of those stacks of drafting cards will happen 3 times. So there's 3 whole rounds of these decks of cards, and on the nice little player aid that they have, it'll explain what type of cards you place in the hands. They do change each one of the rounds. All right, so let's talk about our actual nature reserve over here. So we have this nature reserve, and you can place your animals in any order and in any way that you so desire. This is just a board to lay them out nicely on. Now, up here we have our producers. So these are the cards, these animals and plants, that are going to be the things that the animals in our nature reserve are going to be feeding on. So we have fish, we have bugs, we have trees, and grasses. For example, over here, when I played my pygmy mouse, I had to have at least 2 grasses available, and my current quantity of grass is 2, so that's just fine. That one's allowed. Now, over here, I needed a variety of things. I needed to have at least 1 fish and 1 bug of any type. So I have 2 fish over here, and I happen to have 2 specified bugs, but that's fine because that counts as 1 bug of any type. We also have some other requirements that are up here in green that do not require other animals or producers. And those right there are our conservation levels. So we have the global climate conservation over here, which everybody can work on. And as long as the column is filled for that particular level, it doesn't matter who filled it. Once that's complete for everyone. So as you can see in a 3-player game, we've completed levels 1 and level 2, which is why my stork can be out, because we have world climate conservation completed for level 2. Now on our individual boards, we have to pay for our own conservation, and this is habitat conservation, and then this is poaching conservation. These ones you can pay for with cubes, and you have to move left to right, and then you can place those cubes anytime that you want throughout the game, but once they're there, they've been paid for, they are done. These conservation cubes can also be worth endgame points if you meet certain objectives. Like this one over here, you have to have a specified amount of cubes so that you've produced or you've contributed enough to the global climate. And then these over here, if you've filled up all the way through level 4, you can gain 10 points for each one of these fulfilled. Also at the end game, players are going to count up all the points in the top left-hand corner of their animals in their whole regional habitat area. And then finally, players have their own specific card with certain requirements to gain points at the end of the game. Players also have individual player powers that they can lean on throughout the game. So, like I said, this is a drafting game. Players are going to be drafting across 3 rounds, 10 cards each round. They're going to be meeting these objectives over here for money and points. They're going to be building up their nature reserve and engine building it so that future animals can feed on smaller animals. And then finally, they're going to take care of the conservation of the world. And that's how you play Kavango. Let's go back to the studio and share with you some of our thoughts. All right, so let's talk about components initially. I know you guys have thoughts on these.
Lots of thoughts, apparently.
Okay.
As far as the components, I don't really have that many thoughts, actually. I think the components
really?
are good. I think
okay.
like the box, I was just looking at it, is incredibly sturdy. The card quality, the cardboard quality, the cubes are cubes. There's nothing special there. But I think the production of the thing is very good. I'm impressed by the manufacturing of this game. I think it's really well done.
And I think that you have the couple decks that you pull from different decks throughout the game with the different rounds. I like that it has that organizer to keep them separate, so it doesn't slow the gameplay down or even the setup down to take it out, separate out the decks, make sure you pull. It's just right there and organized, on it and tells you exactly how many to pull each round. So yeah, production I didn't really have issues with. It does have the deluxe copy specifically has that double-sided board. So you can either place on top of it on one side or the other side you can tuck your cards. I didn't have a problem with either other than if you do the tuck card option, just make sure you pull that corner back or else you will damage your cards. But it didn't bother me. I was fine with it.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the tuck card thing was just kind of pointless, and I felt like the boards were significantly larger than they needed to be. Like, I felt like they took up a lot of space, and it felt like it could have been just two little cardboard pieces instead.
Right, absolutely. And then you could even stack your cards to make sure you just see the symbols you need, things like that.
Right, right.
Which kind of leads to something, the fact that you could just stack your cards and look at the symbols, because that theme didn't really come through. It's like, I just need to, it just, at some point in the game, the theme just kind of disappears and you start matching symbols.
Really?
I felt like, very much so.
Okay, because I felt like the theme was there because the symbols represented the type of animals, because you're building this habitat reserve. So you need those smaller feeder foods, and then you need the medium and small size animals to feed the larger animals. So I thought that all made sense thematically.
I think it makes sense thematically, it just doesn't feel thematic. And I don't know how to express it other than it's a feeling in the game. And you're like, it makes sense. I understand that those mechanisms are there because of theme, but it doesn't feel like theme.
I think I'm in between the two of you because I agree that there is that idea of like, I'm building a rhino. He needs a whole lot of grass to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I think the problem for me was having that big board in front of you, and the geometry of that is fully meaningless.
Yeah.
There was no reason to have a board in front of you or have any kind of like, when you buy a card, make a card, whatever, you put it in front of you. Where? Doesn't matter. You can put it in your pocket. It doesn't matter. You need to reference the symbols, but there is no order. There is no... Why a grid? Like, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no... This is a little bit like Wingspan in its approach to what it's trying to do. There's a reason things are organized in Wingspan. They have habitats. You have to trigger them from one end to the other. I mean, there's a reason the geometry exists. In this one, it's almost like they originally started putting them in a grid and that stuck. Like you never rethought that.
Well, and
why?
I feel like the deluxe version where you tuck the cards, I could see that being useful if you're playing outside. Like if they wanted to play this at a picnic table, you've got the little boxes that hold the cards so stuff isn't going to blow away, and then your cards are, put in so they're not going to blow away. So I feel like that would make sense for the grid if that was the purpose behind it, but I don't actually know if that was the purpose behind it. That's just my guessing.
And does that mean that the non-deluxe version, does it not come with a board at all? I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, fair,
but,
Right.
But if it also comes with a board, then okay, why?
Yeah. No, it's fair.
As far as other issues, because like you said, the production I think is good, except for the board and some ideas that don't need to be there. I had a couple of other like big, sort of wider reaching issues with the game. One of them, the big one, I think for me, being the simultaneous nature of the game. They sort of hammer that point home. The game is simultaneous. You can do everything simultaneously. Draft a card, or you all play simultaneously, you all do this, and then immediately it's like, unless you're doing this, or unless you have to do that, or unless it just doesn't make any sense. If you play an action card, you have to do that first. So that's the first one that is going to be like, wait, everyone stop. I played an action card. And then when you are, the big stickler for me is the problem is the world resource, whatever that one is.
Where you put the cubes.
The climate control.
The climate one, right. You have your own personal one. Great. You can spend your money, to your heart's content there. But if you're going to go and put money in the world one, it affects other people. If I could literally like wait people out to see if anybody else is going to pay money there.
Right.
It just didn't make sense to me. I thought that was...
It's
So there could be some more clarifications rule-wise.
Yeah, if it's simultaneous, then it needs to be simultaneous. If not, then don't try to make it simultaneous.
If it's simultaneous, then there can't be a point which hinges what you do, or affects what you do. So, for example, if somebody goes there and puts their money, then I can spend my money somewhere else. All of a sudden, I can play this card. Well, that card might actually change up there. Maybe I wouldn't have cashed out up there. I just happened to go too early by cashing out on that one, on the goals. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Okay, do I undo that? No, I don't. So it has almost a real-time feel to it rather than a simultaneous, because timing matters, but it's not meant to matter.
Right.
That's so interesting. I think that part didn't bother me, because the way I saw it was, if I was going to do it on this turn, I was going to do it anyways. If you were going to do it on this turn, you were going to do it anyways. So if you happened to do it and you waited to the very end, I'd be like, okay, well, now this animal's available. I'm going to do it now.
I think the reason it bothered is because, and this kind of leads into another negative I have, I think that the individual powers are not balanced. And and I don't know about other plays, but the play that we played together, you had someone where money really wasn't an issue.
Right.
And so you're like, I'm going to do that anyway. Why? The money doesn't matter. Whereas me, it was like, I cannot get money to save my life. I'm just like scraping along. So it very much mattered. And that sounds like I'm talking about player asymmetry. I'm not. I think that some of the player powers are just that much better. And some are actually like not limiting, but like useless.
Yeah, I don't know if it's balanced or not. I leave that for the designer to decide. It feels not balanced.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah.
Some powers feel like garbage.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking across the table. I'm like, you're getting to use that every turn? Sounds good, because mine is just sitting here.
And maybe it feels unbalanced because, again, kind of leading to another issue I had with the game, is it's very lucky. Yes, you are drafting cards, and so you have that control over what you get and what you draft and the events that come into your hand. You have some control there, but you have no control over those goals that are coming out. And depending on how they've built up, not because they're better at the game, but because they drafted the cards to build into a goal, and then the next round of goals fit very well into what somebody has already done. So it feels like they're unbalanced, perhaps because it's also very lucky of a game, where it feels, because it has that drafting mechanism as you're doing it, you're like, I have control, I can do this, I can do that. No, I really couldn't have. I just did not set up correctly.
Like I didn't collect
unknown.
birds.
Right, I didn't collect
birds the whole game.
I had no idea that those were going to be, handy in rounds 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And 2 and 3, not many came out, or someone else got them first. It's just, if you don't set up right, then you could be hosed. And you have no idea to see the future, so you don't know if you're hosing yourself.
Right.
You know? And that's really leads again to like what you're saying. Maybe it's not imbalanced. It just feels it in different gameplays.
Well, to be clear, I was not speaking specifically to those goals. I'm talking about the experts.
I am as well. I'm saying, but I think those play into it as well. Yeah. Like maybe some expert in some round that's really lucky plays really well with it, which makes the others feel more balanced. No, it's just a luck issue.
And with the experts, I wonder if a rating system would help, because there's plenty of games where they're balanced, but this one's a little harder to do. Like once you learn how to use it properly, it's balanced. But
they do have that. They have these little dots in the rule book that tell you how difficult or advanced. Yeah. It just didn't feel. Again, maybe it's incredibly well balanced. It didn't feel that way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I get from this game is that the size of the box and the size of the player boards and the size of everything. This feels like a bigger game than I think it was meant to be. Because when I think about the mechanics behind it, I think this is just a little step up higher than Sushi Go.
Right.
You know what I mean? This isn't even Seven Wonders to me. Like this just feels very simple. And so when I look at it at that simple game and the lightness of it, the goals don't bother me. The player powers don't really bother me. You know what I mean? Like those things that I think are negatives for you guys, they're not negatives for me, because I look at this as just kind of a light filler game of the evening, a 40-minute game. That doesn't take a lot of time. We'll play a couple more games. And I just feel like the production of it being so nice made me initially think this is a bigger game than what it is.
I could definitely see that. And it feeling like a bigger game. If you look at it as a filler game, you're kind of, I don't want to say you excuse those things, but your tolerance is higher for them.
Yeah.
And I think naturally. But I think I do look at this closer to like a 40 to 60-minute game, which... To me, that time frame, some nights, that's my main game or the game I play. It's not a filler game. You know, to me, a filler game's 20, 30 minutes at most if we're really invested, or a higher player count, something like that. When you're saying 40 to 60, sometimes that's my game of the night. And this is not necessarily what I want in those situations. Okay. You know, this high level of luck, it to feel like, ooh, a filler game, but it's not. And it's not because it's crunchy, but because maybe the game outstays itself or outgrew itself a little bit.
Okay, so it's a little bit more than what you think it should have been.
I think with the luck is down here, you know, like kind of that filler game, kind of fun, light, very light mechanisms. But what the game is trying to offer with these different goals and with these 3 different, not tracks, I guess tracks kind of that you're contributing to, right? By putting your money 3 different places. Those 2 things are at a disconnect.
Okay. You guys ready for scores?
Yeah. I think I'll go first. I'm thinking I might have the low score here. I think you guys are making a lot of good points. I had some far-reaching issues with this one. The big one being, again, that feeling of advanced prototypiness to it. Like, this is good. This is going somewhere great. Oh, wait, you published it already? Oh, I and other people could have recommended a couple of things you could have done that wouldn't lead to... well, no, you go ahead. Okay. Wait. Can I look at the different experts? Because I want a different one. Mine doesn't do anything. All those things feel clunky. This game feels really clunky to me. The board. There's all these issues I have with it. The production's really nice, and I want to give it a higher score because it feels very passionate. It feels very lovingly put together. But this game is just not bringing it for me. I'm coming down at a 4 on this one. I think it's missing some key moving parts that work well and don't lock up for me. That's kind of how I feel about it. So it gets a 4.
I'm a little bit higher, not much. I'm going to come down at a 5 on it. And I think what you were talking about, kind of that passion project feel of this, that really led me to want to like it so much more. You know, you definitely see the passion where, you know, the designers had been in Africa and gone through and, you know, been involved in conservation. You see all that. And I think it is such a great passion project. But at the end of the day, that's what it feels like. You know, it's just missing some play testing. It's just missing some rules structure, you know, a little bit. I love the drafting mechanism. It's one of my favorite. I feel like the game I feel like the game focuses way too much on those goals. That is the way to play. Everyone is just doing those goals, which complicates further the turn order issues or lack thereof.
Well, it has that weird thing of like, oh, you don't go there until you absolutely need the money because it might be better later.
Right.
That's not good game design.
Right.
The fact that I could do them, and I did, all on the last card drafted because I didn't need the money yet. So I'm like, okay, well, it's as good as it gets right now. These cards are going to wipe away. I'm doing this one and this one and this one and this one.
Right.
That's bad design.
Right.
I shouldn't be able to complete more than one, or there should be a limitation or something. It's just too loosey-goosey.
Right. And I think kind of what brought me up a little bit higher from that 4, you know, to the 5 is I do enjoy the simplisticness of it. You know, it's really, like you said, at its core, sushi go. Like, it's just a drafting, you know, and then you want to draft the right things and play the right things that you can combo that together and bring other animals out. I like what it's trying to do, and I like the passion behind it. I just think as the game is very much getting in its way. And by that 40-minute mark, which is what they're saying, 40 to 60 minute, by the 40-minute mark, I'm done. By 60, I'm like, I'm really done. Yeah. You know, and so it just definitely gets in its way to the point that it overstays its welcome. So for me, it's a 5.
Okay, well, for me, this is a 7. I very much enjoyed myself with this game. Yeah. I enjoy the drafting. I love that you have a big hand of cards and that you have tons of those animals, and you get to plan ahead, which I appreciate that they have those 3 spots on the side. So you can place down those animals. You can say, okay, I can't get here now, but as I earn some money, as I play some action cards, as I do some other things, I'm going to be able to build that. And then you build up to those mega turns where you're like, okay, I've now built this animal, which builds this animal, which will build this animal. I now have enough money to fund my conservation so that I can do this. So I think there's some really cool, fun moments in there. Are there some struggles with it? Sure. And I think that if you're going to play with people that are going to be sticklers about sitting there and going, I'm going to wait to see if you are going to go, I'm going to go, let's play chicken. I think if you're going to play with those kind of people, I wouldn't want to play this game.
Sure.
I think that if you're playing with people that are just going to have fun, they're going to build what they're going to build, I enjoyed this. I think it was a good game. So there you go. That's our score. So that is a seal of approval from the Dice Tower. Thanks for joining us today. Let us know what you guys think about Kavango. In the meantime, I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Z.
And I'm Camilla.
Have fun doing conservation stuff. Take care of the world.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.